Hello, Pavel. Nice to meet you. Today we are performing our interview for a position of Ruby on Rails developer, and I wish you to have good luck. It's really wonderful that we today will be able to speak a lot of different topics, a lot of different issues and questions. How are you?
Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be invited to this interview.
Okay.
Actually, I started to think that it will be only checking of my knowledge, but the record a little bit confused me today. So it's not a problem, I think. I am open to work with you, so you can ask everything you wish.
Cool. Yeah, tell me please about your experience as a Ruby on Rails engineer. Which project you worked on, which technologies you tried to use?
Ah, so actually, my experience in Ruby on Rails started when I began to work by Ruby Roid Labs, and my first project was a small app for adopting children. Actually, I didn't start this project on the scratch, but I just only continued the work from the previous developer. And the main thing, I was completely alone on this project. I had a little help from my technical lead, but in general, I worked on this project by myself. Uh, so about the stack of technologies, it was the Ruby on Rails backend. As that database was used Postgres, and the front end part was just simple ERB and jQuery.
Okay, good. Did you work with databases there on this project? Did you work with Postgres, with MySQL?
Yes.
Okay. Did you solve some optimization task related to databases?
First of all, our database wasn't real. We only at close to the end of the project, we started conversation with the government. The government should give our the access to the big global database of children, but unfortunately, it wasn't happened. And maybe the second fact I can share with you, our database wasn't really big that I could um, um, I could say that we could face some problems with performance, but anyway, I tried to keep everything in order, use indexes there they should be used, and don't make several queries to the database.
Okay. How did you realize that you have to use indexes? Which indexes did you use in which cases?
Hmm. Okay, it's a good question. First of all, I should know what tables, what cases I need to find very often. And for that cases, I just created indexes. For example, first thing I needed to have on my desk, that was actually children.
Okay.
Children, all children that was needed to be adopted.
Mhm.
And the second one thing, it was
Which indexes did you add to this children table?
it was mm, good question. I don't remember the name of index, but
On which fields did you
for example, of the location of children.
location of children?
Yes.
Did it consist of text field, location of children? Was it like location of field was a string field or what?
Yes, it was string field.
Okay, and you mean that location can be repeated, right? In many cases.
Yes, of course. In one
Okay.
location could be
Okay, okay,
a
I
lot of
see.
children.
Okay, good. And after you added this index, how did you realize that it helped?
So actually, I used I forgot the name of the game, but I have tested the performance before adding index and after using index, and I've realized that it was a part of a second performance increasing.
Okay, okay. Yeah, usually for this measuring, we use explain analyze. This is quite common tool for MySQL. For Postgres, you can just make explain analyze of your request, and it will show you the time of the execution time, and also it will split your request if it's difficult, if it's includes some many sub requests. It will just split your difficult request into several sub requests, and it will display information and time execution of each of them. Okay, okay,
Exactly.
that is quite nice. Yeah, since we started to speak about databases, let's continue with joins and the difference between them. Did you use joins and in which situations? Tell me, please.
I used joins several times, and for example, as I mentioned before, I wanted to find, for example, children
Okay.
that belongs or observed by some social worker. It was just simple left join
Okay.
for children that belongs to some social worker.
All right. Um, Also, which other joins do you know except left join?
So I know that it is right join.
Okay. What is the main difference?
So main difference is that we are when we write the query to the database and use right join, we um, we take the cases from the right, all cases from the right table, and only the how this
The matching
matching
entities from the left table.
from the left.
Okay.
Yes.
I see. Good. And if we use just inner join, what it will return?
If we use it return only matches.
Only matches. Okay. I mean if we have like users and I don't know cities, okay, and we are looking for, we are making this inner join, it will return only intersection, right?
Only intersection. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Of this.
What other joins do you know?
As the opposite to inner join, it exists author join. that returns everything except intersection.
Okay.
What doesn't match.
Okay. What else?
Mhm. Ah, unfortunately, I can't remember.
Did you work with full join? Do you know what is full join?
Full join.
What it returns?
Oh,
Full join, it's easier. Like we
no.
have users, we have cities or countries, doesn't matter. And if we making user full join countries, it will return us all entities from these all two tables. It will return all users and it will return all countries and the matching between them, right?
Okay.
But it will return all entities from users and from countries, even if they some of them don't have matching at all.
Any users?
Yes.
Okay.
We also have cross join. It's used really rarely. I would say never. Probably on the project that if we have two users on left table and we have three cities or countries and we make this user cross join countries, it will return all possible combination. The first user with three countries from the second table, the second user with three countries from the second table. It will return 6 cases.
Okay.
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 Cool. Let's continue. And let's assume that on our project we have problem that we have lots of users and we have some APIs that are used by these users. And you know what? We need to optimize it because some of the users, they have response timeout issue, right? They they are making response, they are making a request, but they are not getting responses in a proper time, in 30 seconds or in 1 minute. It depends on how a response timeout on a web server is configured. But the problem that we have some high loading, right? How would you find this problem? How would you detect what should be optimized? Tell me, please, describe your steps. What would you start from? How would you investigate this problem? You know that I'm making a request and sometimes I cannot get a response.
Okay, very, very difficult question. But let me imagine. So, first of all, I would read the log of the error. What kind of error I got on the server?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's obvious which error. It's response timeout.
Is response timeout.
Server didn't answer in 30 seconds or in 1 minute.
Mm.
Yeah, in the window time.
Okay, okay, faced with didn't face with this issue, but still, okay, I would research the action in the controller, what user uses, and try to recognize what provides this action.
Okay.
Maybe I just guess from the theory I read, it could be so several users could modify the same resource at the same time.
Yes.
And we just stuck with a situation when how it names database block or something like that. When some user processing the database and the second user will do the same.
Okay.
And
This is actually a good point. Yeah, let's assume that users they use users table, right?
Okay.
For this request. In which situations users table can be blocked? Maybe what operations can cause that? I mean, blocking the whole table of users. Do you know?
Some update of user information.
Yeah, but basically, if we update one user, if some user is being updated,
Okay.
it doesn't block the whole table. And other user, if they update their self or use their information, it will not block them.
Uh-huh. Okay. We have only one case. So
Did you work with update all? I mean, update all, this is an operation which blocks the whole table.
unfortunately, no.
Yeah, if we use user update all and we want set for all users some field value, I don't know, for example, default value that all users they are not blocked, they are not banned. We once update user update all banned false, something like that. It will block the whole user's table.
Okay.
And if someone at this time tries to access user table, it will be blocked and he will not be able to access user table. And can be a problem, for example, in the case if we have a migration in our application, we have a Rails migration which uses update all, or we have like a rake task which uses update all and it updates users table, right? Okay. Yeah, let's assume that we discussed this case, table blocking. What else can be a problem with database or with user table?
So, first of all, what can I imagine? The table maybe is too large.
Okay.
And has many rows.
Okay.
Then we definitely should use some indexes to find what we need to find.
Okay. Why we have to use indexes?
Because it improves our performance of searching.
Okay. It will cause faster search for users. Yeah, because if we, I don't know, we find user by email and we have lots of requests that uses this find user by email, and we don't use index for that,
Would be catastrophe.
yeah, it will be catastrophe because it will be, I don't know, if it's the case we have 1 million or 10 million users, it will be a full scan of user database. It will be a full scan.
Okay,
yeah,
I know.
of user table. So yeah, for that we can add the indexes. Yeah, but we have to somehow find that it's a problem. It's actually a problem. And you say that you will look into action in a controller.
Okay.
And you will go through all requests, all classes, because maybe a controller method calls some service classes, which makes these requests to database, right?
Okay.
As I said, we can also use explain analysis tool to identify some stacks. Okay, let's assume that we solve this problem with database. What else can cause this problem with response timeout, except of database manipulation?
Except of database.
Yeah.
Very good question. So maybe it will be an error from server, or user gave some invalid data, or
Yeah, but if user gives some invalid data and server like cannot validate it, or
yes.
it will be an error and server will return an error and it will not be response timeout.
Okay. Okay. Mm. So, except some internet issues, should it be something else? So,
Yeah, but we don't discuss this. Everything is fine on user side.
okay.
Actually, one more case, hypothetical. Let's assume that user uses your controller API endpoint, right? And your controller makes some external request to external servers. So one more external service, I don't know, to Google Drive or to AWS or to your internal microservice, which is maintained by also by your team.
Okay, yes.
And there can be also stuck because if the external service also is unavailable or is high loaded, you are making this request to this external server, and external server cannot process your request in 30 minutes, right? In 30 seconds,
Yes.
for example. And you're waiting. Your service microservice is waiting, and then response timeout is returned by your microservice because response timeout was returned by another microservice, by other microservice which you called by your microservice.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have this chain of interaction of microservices, it can be a problem because of unavailability of other microservice.
Okay.
Yeah, besides that, sometimes if you use some libraries or methods or difficult calculations, mathematic calculations, and you can measure the execution time of your Ruby code. Do you know how to measure execution time of your Ruby code?
There is a game for this, but unfortunately, I don't remember the name.
Yeah, we can use benchmark.
Benchmarks,
We can use different benchmark gems, and they have some different opportunities to display the real time, the processor execution time, and the total execution time. All right, yeah, that's fine. Let's speak about NoSQL databases.
Okay.
Did you work with NoSQL databases?
Yes, one time for my pet project, I use Firebase database. I know it is NoSQL. It is just key value file organization.
Yeah, what is the main difference between, or what are benefits, I mean, pros and cons of NoSQL databases? Do you know?
So everything I know, it is NoSQL database is not related.
Yeah.
Not related database. It means that there is no scheme for organization of data. Pros.
Can we make joins in NoSQL database?
What I know, we can't.
Yeah. Okay.
We can't.
All right. What
I
else?
think I know that a NoSQL database, when it small, works faster than small Postgres database.
Okay. Yeah, it can be a case, but it also depends on a lot of issues, a lot of cases.
Okay.
Yeah, but we cannot say that this is always like that, to be really honest.
Okay.
Okay. What else? What other benefits we have for NoSQL database?
For NoSQL database, hmm. What benefits? So we can stage our data in format we wish.
Okay,
Uh,
good.
so
Yeah, you mean like we don't have the strong rules, we don't
yes,
have the strong validations, everything is flexible, we can just put any data we want.
exactly.
Yeah, but this is not always a good situation because if we take MongoDB database, it behaves like a Ruby hash. I always make
Mhm.
this comparison.
Yes.
If you don't have some data in MongoDB, it will return just null. Or if you try to access some record, if you try to access a lot of like this chain of fields, record, and etc., and it doesn't exist, it will return you null, except of just raising some error. And sometimes you can put some data to MongoDB database, to any NoSQL database, but yeah, you cannot be sure that it was put completely right and it has some valid structure, right? It just
Yes.
returns that, okay, it was put, but since we don't have like validation, since we don't have any restrictions, if you like Ruby code, like client code, which uses MongoDB or any other NoSQL database, save something or update something, and if you have any like mistakes in your Ruby code, in your client code, you have some incorrect logic, you will not notice that your data was saved incorrectly with incorrect structure because of absence of these restrictions and validation. All right. Did you work with Redis?
Yes, of course, because I used Postgres database.
Okay, let's speak about Redis. How does Redis work? Do you know?
So actually, it some worker that works as a middleware between, as I know, between Sidekiq and our application.
I see, but I mean, internally, how Redis is built inside? Do you know what is Redis in terms of operation system? I would say.
Wow. Oh no, so deep I don't know really.
Okay, where does Redis store objects?
In a
In which memory?
operation memory.
Yeah, in operation memory. So in terms of operation system, Redis, it's a process. It just run on operation system. It's a usual process. Okay, Redis, it's a process. Why Redis is so popular? Why Sidekiq uses Redis? Why lots of projects which that are run on Rails use this Redis?
Because Redis is fast and popular.
Fast and popular. Okay, why it fast?
Good question. I don't know.
Because it doesn't store data on hardware. It stores data in operation memory.
Yes.
And it has this approach of k-value storage. Redis is a k-value storage. It's like a Ruby hash again. Let's assume that Redis it's a Ruby hash where we have keys, we have nested objects, we have some like end values, and we can access them. Also, Redis has opportunity to use this TTL, time to live. We can put some object to Redis and specify TTL, for example, 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, this object will be automatically removed or expired. And we cannot get access to this object anymore. So it's really convenient. All right. How do you think, is it possible that Redis potentially can lose data if it's a process, because it's a process of operation system. A process can fail, right?
Yes.
Can be something can be broken. Can be that we can lose some data. We can lose some jobs or objects that we put
Oh,
in Redis.
it's a very interesting question. I think it's based on the mm, on the computer, how the computer is built, and maybe we have a situation when we have a shutdown of the uh, energy, or our
Yeah.
computer was
Yeah, this is the case, but I mean, mainly we can just set up hardware backup. I mean, Redis can use hardware disk, and we can specify this option to backup data.
to store
Yes,
the
and
backup
if yes, and if
hardware.
Redis fails, if the process fails, it just makes a quick dump to hardware. Yeah, and after we relaunch it, we can just Redis gets this data from hardware and loads it to operation memory. That's why we can make it like that. We cannot lose any data. Okay, let's speak about Sidekiq. We figured out that Sidekiq uses Redis, right? Sidekiq, what is Sidekiq?
Is the same project that serves to make some processes in background.
All right, okay, good. At which situations we have to use Sidekiq? At which situations we have to use background jobs at all
Mhm.
in general?
Actually, I used Sidekiq on my project.
Okay,
I had scheduled events that should be performed one time a month.
okay,
Um, actually, and maybe one case more I could tell you. When user makes some actions in our app, and it performs a lot of processes at the same time, some of that processes could be moved or delayed for the latest time. For
okay,
example, to send some email, like deliver later.
okay, okay. Yeah, makes sense. All right. Let's assume that we created user in our controller method. We just call some service class user creator or something like that, which returns as user instance.
Okay.
We have this user instance. What do you think if we have after that to send an email to this user? We have some job. We have to call like this job, right? We have to say user mailer perform later, but we
Yes.
have to pass this user. We have to pass this user there inside, right?
So some data from user, especially email. Yes.
Will we pass user itself? I mean, user entity, or will we pass something else, another?
Hmm. Good question. I try to remember what I used for this process. Actually, it was active record instance. I would say yes, we passed uh, instance of user, this instance.
Yeah, potentially, you know what, we can pass instance of user. Not all these background job adapters support that. In case of Sidekiq, yes. But let's assume that we don't use Sidekiq, we use just usual standard Rails job, active job. We just use active job, we don't use Sidekiq. We saved user. Can we pass user entity?
Okay. Very interesting. But when if we don't pass the user entity or some user information, like email field, how can we perform this process, this sending?
We can pass in some situations. What can be a problem? For example, okay, let's assume we use Sidekiq. We passed user instance.
Okay.
And we said, okay, we will perform it later.
Okay.
What can be the problem here? What can happen?
User could be delayed at the time the email will be sent.
Yes, this is a good point. That's why how we can prevent from that.
We can cache user information.
For what?
To save some information.
Yeah, I mean, but if user was deleted, then we don't have to send the email anymore, right?
Okay, then we should handle this process.
How?
Oh, very very good question.
Where we can handle that?
By the time we try to perform this action.
By the time, okay. You mean like in this job class, right?
In this job class, we check.
What we can do there?
We should check that user exists.
Okay, how we can do that?
To make a new request to database.
Yes, exactly. Okay, nice point. All right, yeah, we can do that, and yeah, we can check if it exists. Then we can send an email. If it doesn't exist, then we can just return from this job and don't do that. Good. Yeah, this can be a problem. Not so often, but sometimes. Yeah, that we try to use some entity in a background job, sending some emails or updating some fields on this entity, but this entity was actually removed and deleted. Okay, this is actually good. Then let's continue. Let's speak about Ruby language. Ruby language is a high-level, really oriented programming language. And let's speak about data types and objects. Do you know we have numbers in Ruby? Which kind of numbers do we have?
We can we have what is natural numbers, so without the punct and the rest. And we have floats with the part.
Okay, you mean we have numeric float, right?
Numeric, yes, numeric and float.
Okay, what else do we have?
Okay. That's actually everything I know about numbers.
Okay, if a float is not enough to make some calculations, what can we use?
You mean infinity?
Not infinity, decimal. Decimal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's double precise decimal numbers. We can use them if we have to make really correct and strict calculations.
Okay.
Really like direct calculations.
Never faced with this type.
All right. What else do we have? Do you know?
Uh, do we speak about numbers?
Yes. Okay, we have float, numeric, and decimal. What else do you have?
Okay. Maybe we have how this something through 1 through 2. Is this record dropy?
Okay, we have this fractional type, fractional. Yeah,
Fractional.
fractional. Yeah. We made a mistake. Numeric. This is the parent of all of this.
Okay.
We have integer, except of yeah. For integer numbers, we have this integer class, which
Okay.
is yeah inherited from numeric. Okay. Also, we have some interesting class which is called you know what we have this complex numbers, complex type.
This is
Yeah, in
some
mathematics at university.
hexes?
No, not hexes. We have complex numbers which are not in this usual integer and fractional and this decimal
Okay.
related, but they have this yeah, they consist of two parts. Yeah, the real part and mnemonic part. Yeah, this is studied mostly at the university for mathematics, but they are also included in Ruby. So we have this numeric class, which is a parent. We have integer. We have float. We have decimal. We have fractional, and we have complex numbers.
Wow.
All of them are inherited from numeric class. This is a common class.
Not bad.
Okay, let's speak about object ID. Tell me, please, what is object ID in Ruby?
So object ID is the unique number of the object.
Okay, unique number of object. Do you know how is it calculated?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, for example, it contains address of variable. It contains virtual address. We have this physical memory and we have this virtual memory.
Okay.
This object ID, it's a representation of virtual memory address where the variable is stored.
Okay.
Okay, and for example, this is interesting case. If we use integer, the object ID will be always deterministic. For example, if we use 2 as a number, it's an integer, the object ID will be this number multiplied by 2 plus 1. It will be 5. Yeah, for 2. If we write down a equals 10, what will be the object ID?
Wow. A equals 10.
Yeah, what will be the object ID of a?
10 plus 1, 11?
Nope. 10 multiplied by 2 plus 1.
Multiplied by 2.
Yes.
21.
21. Okay. And this is interesting question. It means that if we always use a equal 10, b equal 10, c equal 10, they all will have the common object ID, right? The same object ID.
Yes.
How this how are these objects called? Do you know? Which have the same object ID?
Variables.
No. Yeah, it's obvious that they are variables, but how these objects are called in Ruby? That these objects that have the same object ID.
Maybe sub-object?
No, they are called singleton objects. Singleton objects.
Oh, okay.
Do you know? Yeah, I just gave you an example of integer. Integer, all integers that we use in Ruby, they are singleton objects. Do you know
Okay.
what else are singleton objects in Ruby? What else can have the same object ID always?
It is type, data type symbol. Symbols.
Okay, symbols. Okay, what else?
What can I say about singleton? Is the only one class instance, for example, or
Yeah, class instance, it's obvious, yeah, for sure.
okay.
It's a single, yeah, if we use the same instance. But if we create a new one, if we have user 1 and we instantiated user 2, they are not singleton.
Yes. Okay. So I don't know.
Class itself, it is singleton. I mean user.
Okay, class of
If we write a equals user, I mean user as a class with a capital letter, and b equals user with as a class with capital letter, they also will have the same object ID, because also all constants in Ruby, because user class as a class with capital letter, it's a constant. All constants in Ruby, they are singleton.
Okay.
Because if we just try to access them, it will always point to the same memory area, to the same variable, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Except of that, nil, it's also singleton. True and false.
Yes.
True and false, they are also singleton objects. Okay, this is a really interesting case because Ruby is a tricky language, and we have the singleton objects in Ruby. And can we, if we have, let's think about, if we have instance of a class.
Okay.
We just say user1 equals user.new, and user class has instance method name, for example.
Okay.
Can we somehow redefine this method only for user1? If we create user2, it will use this instance method, which is written and predefined in user class. But can we somehow change the method definition for only user1?
For the only user1. Okay. We can create new class.
No, without creation a new class.
Okay. Without creation. The name definition.
No, not the name definition. The definition of the same method, that it will return the other result, method called. redefine method.
Redefine method. Actually, it is bad practice.
Yeah, it's bad practice, but we are speaking about Ruby opportunities and the understanding how Ruby works.
Maybe I so actually I didn't
Yeah, we can use
try.
define singleton method. We can just put user1 dot define singleton method, pass name, and in block we can pass a new definition of method, and we can redefine it. Yeah, in really sometime, yeah, it's really bad practice. But once I was working on some project, and we were discussing, is it possible to skip a callback for a particular instance of the class? Yeah, it's possible. We can just redefine on the fly method or for this instance, which is called by this callback. For example, if we have, I don't know, before save or after create callbacks. Yeah, this is also a bad practice to use callbacks in Rails models. This is really bad thing. But if we have these callbacks and they call, for example, after create, update user meta information method. Yeah, if they call this method, we can on the fly we can redefine this method for a particular instance. We can say, okay, user dot define singleton method, update user meta information, and in block we can pass nil. It will be called, but it will do nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, for example.
Can I ask a question to this case? The method, for example, of name definition will be called the same way as usual for the class, or it will be for in general for the class it will be dev name and for this instance will be called name something blah blah.
No, it will be the same method. As I
The
said,
same method.
the same method. We just redefine it for the particular instance.
Okay.
For the
okay.
particular instance of a class.
But the method is the same.
Yes.
Okay.
The method is
okay.
the same. Okay. Yeah, this is really interesting question because we have agent class or singleton class in Ruby, and each object, each instance of Ruby has singleton class. User, we have user instance. It has singleton class. This is a particular place where this definition, redefinition of a method is stored. For example, if we want to redefine a method for a particular instance, we put this user.define singleton method, name of this method, define a new method body. This method redefinition will be stored in this agent or singleton class. Or if we want to define, for example, we want to define a method on a fly for only its particular instance. We want to on the fly create full name method, right? We just put it in code that user defines singleton method full name method body, and this method will be stored also in agent class, in a singleton class. Each Ruby object has agent or singleton class.
Okay.
Yeah, each Ruby object. Okay, let's continue with Ruby language. Do you know what is the main difference between private and protected?
Private methods are not accessible on the children.
Why they are not accessible in children?
They are not inherited.
They are inherited.
Oh, maybe I have some mistaken.
You mean if we have, for example, user and we inherit, and the class user has some private method, right?
Yeah, yes.
And we inherit student from user, right? And inside student class, we have some methods that call this private method. from user, it will work.
It will work. So, okay, I thought private methods aren't accessible from the.
They are accessible.
Okay.
Private methods are not only accessible from outside.
From outside.
Yes.
Outside the class.
Yeah.
Okay, but I remember a life hack. We can.
Yeah, what we can use to call private method from anywhere.
We can send something to this.
Yeah, we can use send. Yeah, but this is also bad practice.
Okay.
Yeah, this is only good practice if we use public send and we use some meta programming, right? But if we use send to access private method, we have to redefine this method, reallocate it in class to make it public, or to make some interface to access this method, right?
Yes.
Okay, the main difference between private and protected that if we have user A and user B, they are both instances of a class user.
Okay.
They have age. They have age method.
Okay.
It's protected. And we want to write a comparator method. Comparator method which compares user 1 age and the second user age.
Okay.
We put this comparator method into class user, into user class. We put this comparator method.
Okay.
It accepts just the other user as an argument.
Okay.
Because we have access to, we have self, we have like already this instance. If we put code like age compare user the other user dot age, it will work with protected, but it will not work with private.
Okay.
Why does it work with protected? Because these both classes, these both instances, they are from the same class.
From the same class.
Yeah, it will work. This is the only one difference since Ruby 2.7. Yeah, what is the difference between private and protected? The only one difference. What do you think? If we call about protected, public, and private methods in Ruby, what will be the fastest and the lowest? From the perspective of execution.
So I didn't analyze the performance, but let me guess. From the logic, we use public methods very often, and I guess it is most performed
The fastest.
the fastest.
Okay. Then the next what will be?
So
Protected or private?
let me guess number 2. So let it be private.
Why? Why do you think?
So because they are not accessible from the outside, and we use them only inside the class.
Yes, they will be faster because we don't have to check. Ruby doesn't have to check this special case, which we discussed about this comparison.
Okay, yes.
And for protected, this is the lowest method. And to be really honest, I would recommend to not use them in your project. I would recommend, if you have a project with a lot of protected methods, you can try to run a script which will redefine them to be private. And since Ruby 2.7, I would be 90% sure that after running your spec tests after running CI, everything will be fine.
No.
Because as I said, since Ruby 2.7, the only one difference with this comparator method. If you don't use any comparator method in your project, you can replace all protected method to be private. Okay.
Logical.
Let's speak about possible ways how we can execute code in Ruby in pure Ruby. Pure Ruby, we don't speak about Rails. How we can execute code with delay, like delayed code execution. Is it possible somehow? What mechanisms can we use?
Okay, if we speak about pure Ruby, so it's sleep.
Yeah, it's sleep. But I mean, if we have some like code piece in our project and we want to execute it later, can we somehow wrap it into something to execute it later or pass it somewhere else?
Of course, yes, we can create some job, or I know that in Rails 7 there
No,
is
no, no. We speak about pure Ruby. I want to.
okay.
I have some method. I want to somehow pass this method execution to be executed later, or I have like some code lines. I want to take them, pass them somewhere,
Okay.
and execute it later. Call it in another place. Is it possible?
Later and call it from another place. Oh,
Or pass it to some other class or other method?
I understand. Actually, I have never faced with this case.
Yeah, but do we have? Can we somehow wrap code lines in Ruby into something that we can pass to other place?
Actually, we can create some service.
No, I speak about lambdas, procs, and blocks. This is really obvious because
Okay.
we can just wrap any lines of code into a proc or lambda and pass it somewhere, right? And it will be executed.
Yes, yes, but this gap of execution confused me a bit.
Okay, what is the main difference between? Okay, let's speak about the proc, lambda, and block. What will be the fastest from execution perspective?
The fastest, wow, maybe so, maybe a block.
Why?
Because so it looks most simple and executes immediately when we call them.
I would say, yeah, this is true, but this is not a really wonderful explanation because what is the main difference between block, proc, and proc?
Between block and proc, block proc we should create proc.new
Okay,
and something
and
something.
what does it mean if we create something?
It takes a time.
It takes a time, and if we create some variable, it has to be stored somewhere, right?
Yes, and then we call them.
Okay. In case of block, do we do that?
No,
Okay, what does it mean?
it doesn't store any data on.
Yes,
On
and
the
it means that that block it's not object. Yeah, block it's not an object. It doesn't have object ID. Sure, we can wrap block to be a proc, but we speak about anonymous block, right? We speak about anonymous block.
Okay.
We can for sure wrap block to be proc and convert it and call it later. Yeah, but since we wrap it in the proc, it becomes an object. But if we speak about anonymous block, it will be the fastest because it's not an object. We don't have to initialize it, store it in memory, and access to this memory area because it takes time.
Okay.
In general case. All right. What is the main difference between string and symbol?
String and symbol.
Yes.
Okay. I can tell that symbols are always unique. They have always unique object ID.
Okay.
And strings, if we talk about the same string,
if I, for example, if I put A equals Pavel and B equals Pavel, will these two variables have the same object ID or not?
not. They will have.
Okay. Yeah, they will have different object ID. Is it possible to make them to point to the same memory area or to have the same object ID?
We can link these strings to different variables.
I mean, without linking, we can. Yeah, I want to put A equals Pavel and B equals Pavel, but the result should be that if I call object ID on A and or on B, they will have the same value.
Okay, we should convert the string Pavel to symbol.
Without converting to a symbol.
Okay. Now I'm confused. Without conversion.
Did you work with freeze?
Object freeze?
Yes.
Okay. I know that there is a method in JavaScript, but
yeah, we can use freeze. We can put A equal Pavel dot freeze and B equal Pavel dot freeze, and they will have the same object ID. But this is not convenient because I don't want to put dot freeze each time when I use some string, right?
Okay.
Maybe you know about some magical comment that we can use inside our class to make all strings to be singleton.
This comment above the file string literal.
Yeah, frozen string literal true. This actually does what we discussed. If you use Pavel 2 times for 2 different variables, they will point to the same area in operation memory, to the same variable, to not the same variable, to the same memory area. They will also have the same object ID, because object ID represents virtual memory address. Okay, cool. Let's continue. Let's discuss what is the main difference between class and module in Ruby.
We can create an instance from the class. Modules can't do that, but because modules are just a sentence of methods, they have no constructor and they can't create any instance.
Okay. How can we include module into class? Which ways do we have?
We can just simple include some model.
Okay.
To write include.
What else?
We can Oh, actually, there is three commands to include something.
Okay.
Which include, extend, and prepend.
What is the main difference?
The main difference is that if we include the model in the class, the methods that contains this module will be accessible for the instance of the class. It will be instance methods. And if we extend class with some module, it will be class methods.
Okay, what about prepend?
Prepend, I've never used, but it related to chain of inheritance.
Okay.
And when we call some method on the instance, Ruby will search them on this ancestors.
Yeah, and ancestors, we have this method lookup chain.
Yes.
Yeah, let's speak about this method lookup chain. This is really interesting because we discussed this IG classes, we discussed these singleton things. And what do you think? What will be at the end of this chain?
At the end, it will be, I forgot the main object or
basic object.
Basic object.
Basic object. Okay. And in this chain, Ruby looks for a method, right?
Yes.
What will happen if Ruby didn't find a method in this chain?
At all?
Yes, at all.
It will be raised no method error.
Yes, no method error. Why? I mean, we have, yeah, it will be no method error. Yeah, in terms of Ruby, the special method which is called method missing will be called. Method missing raises this, no method error.
Okay.
Inside. Wonderful. Yeah, we can redefine method missing sometimes.
Yes, we can.
Do you know why we do that?
First of all, if we want to handle a particular error,
okay,
or we have to have a particular behavior.
All right. Yeah, in some situations we need to redefine it to handle an error differently, or to just do not raise an error, or to make any other stuff. Okay, let's speak about prepend. And prepend, you say that it looked from the start into module, right? If we use prepend.
Yes.
But include would look from the start into class. This is the main difference.
Prepend will include methods at the beginning of the class. So
no, prepend will look for a method if we have user prepend and not searchable.
Okay.
If we call some method, first of all, Ruby will look it in
the class.
No, in searchable for prepend.
For prepend and searchable. Yes.
For include in a class. Okay. Cool. We have a class in Ruby, user, for example.
Okay.
In pure Ruby, we have instance methods there. Instance methods. We have define name, define.
Okay.
How is it possible to make these methods to be both class and instance?
The same method is class method and wow. Wow. Good question, actually. Is it related to getters and setters?
Nope.
No.
I want just to we have name or someone else age.
Mhm.
I want to be able to access it as a user.age with capital letter and user.new.age.
So we should just define two different methods.
Yeah, but what if hypothetically they use the same, they have the same body? Then we will duplicate code, right?
Yes.
We can use, yeah, this is what you were saying about modules. We use include, extend, increment. We can use in extend. How? How can we use extend? In class, on the top, we can put extend self. Because self, this is class definition, which points to this, all of these methods. And if we put extend self, we kind of extended the same class method definitions and make them as a class methods, right?
But this way we make all instance methods.
Yes, we make all instance methods. Yeah, this
okay.
is also can be achievable. All right, and this is the same, yeah, similar question.
Okay.
If we have a module in Ruby,
Mhm.
can we call a module method? Can we call a module method directly
From what? From the model?
from any place? Yeah.
I guess no.
Okay. How is it possible to call method? Maybe we can just somehow modify somehow this method.
Okay. We speak about models method.
Yes, models.
Wow.
The same story we can call extend self.
Artificial extend self.
Yeah, we can call extend self, and then we can directly access this method. For example, searchable dot method name. Searchable is a module.
Okay.
Yeah. Or we can just put method into self section. We can put def self dot name or something like that.
Okay.
And it will work. It's called singleton method.
I understand.
Okay, this is obvious. Let's speak about exceptions in Ruby.
Okay.
How can we handle exceptions in Ruby?
So we can raise some exception by hand, or we can catch some error and then raise an exception.
Okay. We can use how can we catch? Which structure of language do we use?
We use raise some.
If we raise some error, but if we want to catch it,
then we catch them in a block inside the raise.
no. Again, we have some piece of code.
Okay.
We know that it can raise an error. It can raise an error. The error can happen. If we want to handle this error, we use rescue.
Rescue. Yes.
We use rescue and we specify error name. Okay. Do you know this hierarchy of exceptions in Ruby? What will be on the top of this hierarchy? Because all of these exceptions, they are classes. They are inherited from someone.
Hierarchy of exceptions. It's a really good question. I don't.
Yeah,
don't see
the top it will be on the top it will be exception. Then we have some, yes, just middle classes like IO error exceptions or etc. We have standard error. This is a really important exception because by default, if we have rescue without specifying class, it will handle only standard error and all exceptions that are inherited. Okay. For example, we also have no memory exception. This is also inherited from exception, but it's not in the standard error chain. It's outside of standard error. It's on the same level. Standard or error also is inherited from exception.
Okay.
If you want to handle no method error, no memory exception, we have to specify it explicitly. Rescue, no memory exception, and blah blah blah.
Okay.
Okay. What except rescue do we have? If we want that some code will execute always, it doesn't matter was it exception or it wasn't.
How can we guarantee that it will be executed? This is a good case. Maybe we should rescue any error and then continue.
We have ensure construction. Ensure it's like an C# language. It's finally. It means that this code will always be executed. Sometimes it's needed if you want to clean up some resources after execution. Okay, the last question about Ruby. We have threads in Ruby. Do you know what is a thread?
Yes.
Let's speak about threads and concurrency in Ruby.
Okay.
Does Ruby have concurrency?
Actually, I can't tell.
I mean pure Ruby.
Pure Ruby, no. It is one thread language.
Yeah, but also one remark, starting from Ruby 3.0, we have a concurrency mechanism, do you know?
Yes, and Rails 7, I know, offers some methods like delete later, update later.
No. It doesn't relate it to that. We speak about pure Ruby. We speak about pure.
Okay.
We have reactors. Reactors, this is like lightweighted worker, but it was introduced in Ruby 3.0. We can use concurrency in Ruby from 3.0. We can instantiate several reactors and we can run them. And these calculations, what they doing, they will be executed in parallel.
Okay.
Really. We will have, if we have 3 reactors, then we will have 3 threads.
But if we have only, it depends on the.
We will have 3 processes and we will have potentially at least 3 threads. We can potentially have more. Inside each reactor, we have make several threads, 3, 5, 6, 7. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But at least we will have 3 threads, and they will work simultaneously, and we will have 3 processes because thread cannot live without. Because a process at least always has 1 thread inside.
Okay. I have just one question. I read that if our processor in our computer has only 1 core, that there is impossible to have.
Yes, Absolutely true.
several processes.
Yes, this is absolutely true, but this is not the case because we live in 2022 and all our computers, they all mostly have
Okay.
multi-core processors, right?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, but let's not speak about Ruby 3.0. Let's speak about the Ruby second version. Okay, if we have, as you said, if Ruby is one thread language, right?
Yes.
But do we have, can we create threads in Ruby manually?
Threads?
Yes.
No, it's not.
We can call thread.new and it will create a separate thread.
Okay.
Okay, but what is the benefit of that? Do you know? What is the benefit of creation threads in Ruby, in pure Ruby before 3.0?
Very interesting question.
Yeah, for example, I will give you a task. We have a hypothetical task. We have URLs. We have file with 10 URLs.
Okay.
All of these URLs, these are images. And the task is to download these images. We can have potentially 1,000 URLs in file. It's wisely to have, for example, thread queue or 10 threads or 20 threads. The best option is to have a possibility to configure how many threads we can use. And we can just split all of these URLs. And for example, if we have 10 threads, one thread will download 100 images.
Okay.
What is the main benefit of that? The main benefit that we have input-output operations. But Ruby is a one-threaded language, as you said. Okay, so then we have 10 threads, but at each time of execution moment, only one thread is going. Yeah, what will be the main benefit? The main benefit will be that we have input-output operation. And when thread makes a request to download image and waiting for response, this is in input-output operation. And at this time, the other thread can execute itself. It can be executed. And you don't have to wait for a response for the previous thread. This is called input-output operations. And to not wait for input-output operations, we can create multiple threads in the pure Ruby. It will help us.
Okay.
This is the main difference. Okay, let's speak about Rails. Let's speak about Rails. It's MVC, model view controllers. It's obvious. Let's speak about models. Can you describe me? We have callbacks. Do you know we have callbacks?
Okay.
Is it good to use callbacks? What do you think? For models in Rails?
Okay. Callbacks. I think, from my opinion, it's only syntax is sugar to don't to write some logic by yourself. You can use.
Yeah, but is it okay or not?
So I know that some actions can occur models that and then ignore this model callbacks. For example, delete all, destroy all.
Not destroy all, but delete all.
Delete all.
Destroy all will execute all callbacks.
Okay, destroy all will execute, delete all will ignore it. So I don't see evil in
Yeah, the main problem with callbacks that when you specify a lot of callbacks in your model, your code will be not predictable. If you have to debug something, if you have to debug your code, you have some bug, you have to debug your model, it will be difficult to explore all places, to follow this code, to read
Okay.
this code, to understand what will be executed after each. And sometimes if we have two models and they are dependent on each other, we can have some callbacks in both models. And for example, if we destroy user, some callbacks are executed with user, and we have dependent model, which will be also destroyed, and we have also callbacks. It will be difficult to understand, what will be where will be the place of a bug if we have some bug potentially.
Okay.
That's why we always use the alternative way. Do you know how we can avoid using callbacks? If we have after commit callback, if we have I don't know, after before save or after commit, it's possible to avoid using callbacks, to not write them. How can we do that?
Maybe to write a method and call them just when we want.
Yes, potentially this is true, but it shouldn't be. I mean, these methods that we write and we put into this class, they shouldn't be located in this class, because this class has a single responsibility, and we will overload our models with this, like some extra methods which are responsible for sending emails or for pre-processing some data. We can use service classes. Okay, we can just define several server classes. We can define user creator class. It's a service class. Inside call method, we can put transaction, and in transaction we can create a user. We can just create an account for it or some other dependent entities. We can call sending emails. We can send emails. We can call some mailer or delay job. But in this situation, we will avoid using callbacks.
Yes.
We will not use after commit, send email or something like that. Yeah, this is a really good example. Also, sometimes using callbacks can be good practice if we have to pre-process some data. For example, before validation or before save, capitalize username or squish or trip some fields like, but it's only related to before validate, before save. We can call some methods that are responsible for making user data to be pretty or beautiful. You capitalize something to make more lowercase or uppercase. It's a good practice, but for after callbacks it's not really acceptable. Okay, let's speak about validations. How can we define validators in our models?
I used just standard validation to check presence.
Validates presence, right?
Definition, etc. But I know that we can write some custom validator.
How to do that?
Validator. Okay, I have never done it by praxis, but I guess it's just a class that we can include in our model.
Not include, but we can just call this class, right?
Call, yes.
Okay. Except that we can also use validate method. Do you know? We have validates, for example, presence true, but we have validate. What is the main difference?
Validates and validate? Oh, actually, I've never think about it.
Validate, we specify custom method. And for example, validate,
validate
custom presence,
validate.
custom name presence, and we can define in private section def custom name presence and put there's our custom validation.
Yes, and validates is written above before these methods. For example, validates true or validates present or present.
Yeah, we to be really honest, we can put validates everywhere in class.
Everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because it will be executed at the time of reading this class. The first time Ruby reads this class, when you run your project, for example, you run Rails start, all your classes are read by Ruby.
Okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter where you put validate.
Okay.
Because, yeah. Okay, yeah, so we have validate to define our custom methods in this class. We have validates. This is some basic validations provided by Rails, by active support, and etc. And we have custom classes. Okay, cool. Okay, let's speak about relations in Rails. Which relations do we have between entities?
Belongs to, has one.
Okay, let's speak about belongs to and has one. Where do you know what is foreign key?
Foreign key is the column we set to define a relationship between columns. It is always unique number, for example, ID.
Okay. If we use belongs to and has one or has one, for example, in which case, in which entity we store foreign key? If user has one book and book belongs to user, in which of these entities we store
Good
foreign key?
Good question. Let me revise. User has one book, and book has one. It means user has book ID. And book belongs to means that book book belongs to user. That means book stores user's ID.
Yeah, absolutely true. If book belongs to user, it stores user ID. Do we store book ID in user table? In this case, if user has book, do we store book ID in user table?
No. We just
this
store.
is true. Okay, what else we have except has one belongs to?
Has many.
Okay. For example, let's assume that has many. User has many books. How to make this to work?
It means each book contains field user ID, and
okay.
Book belongs to user, and user has many.
Okay, let's continue. What also do we have?
We have two more. No, not two more. Has and belongs to many. Has many true.
Has and belongs to many and has many true. When do we use it? For which relations? Type of relations between the entities?
It is many to many.
Okay, how is it implemented? Let's focus on that. Many to many. Tell me please about how to implement many to many. I will give you an example. We have We have post entity.
Okay.
We have tag entity.
Okay.
Each post can contain tag, for example, nature,
Mm-hmm.
and nature can belong to many different posts.
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
to implement this many-to-many relation?
So it depends on if we want to handle this connection between two tables. If we don't want to handle some what is промежуточная таблица,
Middle table.
middle table, we can use has and belongs to many relation. And
Okay.
if we want to handle some tag and this nature, that some kind of nature, I don't know, we should manually create this table, and the name of this table will tag hashes table, and then we can handle some common things related to both
Yeah.
tables.
Yeah. Let's again speak about has and belongs to many. Do we have in this case middle table or not?
No, we don't have middle
We
table.
have middle table. Anyway,
But it is without ID. ID is false, as I remember.
if we implement many-to-many relationship, and if we use has many true, in this case,
Yes,
we have to specify a model
yes.
posts tags, for example, model post tag model. And here in this
Post tag.
model, we can make any different validations, callbacks, methods, some business logic
Yeah,
if it's
yes.
needed, if it's required by business, right? But anyway, even if we don't use has many true and we use has and belongs to many, in this case, we don't create this model post tag, but the table will be exist anyway. For sure. How? Okay, if a table doesn't exist, how we will match this post and text many to many if we don't have middle table? It's impossible, I think, because we don't store
Yes.
that post A, yeah, belong has this tag nature, right?
Okay, I am
And post
confused.
and post B doesn't have tag,
Yes, yes, yes.
I know, animal. We
Yes.
don't store this information anywhere. We always have to create this middle table.
I confuse the table and model.
Yeah. Okay, nice. We just
There is
what
one
is let's speak about STI and polymorphic relations. What is STI? Do you know?
STI.
Yeah, STI. Single table inheritance. Do you know what is it?
Oh, I have never heard about STI.
Single table inheritance, it's called.
When the table refers to itself.
Yeah, we can a bit like say like that, but I will give you an example. We have users table.
Okay.
In our Rails project, we have user, but it's abstract class. We don't have any entity of user.
Yes.
We have admin, we have guest, for example, we have super moderator, we have moderator. All of these classes are inherited from user.
Yes.
What is a single table inheritance? These all classes, their records will be stored at the same table user. But the main difference, it's a type. We have different type admin, type moderator.
Yes.
What do you think? What we will store in this table? If we have single table inheritance, we have user. What we'll have to store in this case?
We will store IDs of admin, etc., etc.
Yeah, but how can we differentiate if it's admin or if it's a moderator? If we store these records in the same user table, you want somehow to differentiate that this is admin or this is moderator.
We can store the class.
Yeah, we can store the class, or we can store, it's more correct, say type admin or type moderator,
Okay,
or type super. Okay, this is the simple example of STI. We have polymorphic associations. Do you know what is polymorphic relations? Can you give me an example?
Okay. Let me revise. When we have polymorphic with example related to my project, I had polymorphic relationship between foster children and their brothers and sisters, because each child could be foster child, could be some brother or sister, and it was another type, I forgot the name. So I had three different classes or instances.
Okay.
And I had to connect them and store in one table. No.
Yeah. Let me give you the easiest example.
Okay.
We have tag again. Tag or category.
Okay.
Let's say category. For example, category animal or sports or anything. Technologies. In our Rails project, we have entity post and we have entity user, for example, or environment, for example. These two entities, they can have tags. For example, we can use tags for user. Each user on this profile has different tags, and each post can have different tags. So it means that the same tag sports can belong to user and can belong to post simultaneously. How can we achieve that? What should we have? What should we store in database, in table?
In table, this is table between that classes will be stored ID of tag and ID of post, and they will be unique somehow.
How to achieve that?
I just remember that we write for tag table polymorphic true, and
how to achieve that in database, how to store, what should we store to differentiate, to make it unique. Let's assume that we have tag animal and it belongs to post with an ID1 and it belongs to simultaneously to user with ID1. How to differentiate?
it will be two records with ID of this picture and tag ID, and ID with picture and user ID.
You mean we have to create two? We have to create two records of tag.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is not a good solution because then we duplicate data, right? Let's assume that we have millions of records and we have to duplicate all of these tags. If we have, for example, three entities that tag can belong to user, post, or some step or some advisement, it doesn't matter. Then we have to create it 4 or 3 times. Yeah, it's not profitable solution. It's not promising solution because then we have to duplicate data. Is it possible to store all of this, but only once?
I remember I used something like unique true, and it was extra table for staging all of these IDs.
Yeah, the main thing that we can implement that we can also have middle table, and in this middle table we will have connection between. We will have two fields. First of all, if it's type, and the second it's ID. ID, it's a post ID or user ID, and type, it's a user or a post, right? Yeah, if we use STI, we have only type, but if we use polymorphic associations, we use two fields.
Yeah.
But if we do it, how it means that we have to duplicate data, right? Because the same tag belongs to two entities. But we can create a middle table, like we had many to many. We have too many to many. We can have created for polymorphic association, and there we can store tag ID, taggable ID, and taggable type. Tag ID will be the same. If we have tag animal or tag sport, it has ID 0, for example. Yeah, it will be duplicated.
Okay.
But we don't duplicate data of tag itself, right? We have this middle table.
Yes, we store everything.
And we store only references between them. This is the main example how we can do that. Okay. Maybe the last question from my side. Yeah, let's speak about tell me please, we have application.
Okay.
We have Rails application. It's run locally on my machine.
Okay.
I want to deploy it and to deliver it to production. How to do that? What would you do if you want to make that all users can access your application?
Okay. So first of all, we should have some server when we can physically place our application.
How is this called, this server? Is it application server or is it web server?
It's a web server.
It's web server, okay.
So actually, then we should have a domain name to that each user could reach our application. And then we load our application on this server. And so, as I know from my experience, on the server should be located some system, Unix system, or
Yeah,
it
on the web server. Yeah, on the web server we
yes,
have Unix
yes.
system. Okay.
Yes. Then we should run some application server like Nginx.
No,
or
Nginx, it's a web server.
Oh,
Apache and Nginx, there are web servers.
okay. Maybe I started too long from.
Do you know
the-
what application server we have for Rails? As a simple example, standard.
It's Puma.
Puma. Okay, Puma. So we have web server and Nginx or Apache, doesn't matter.
Okay.
And we have Puma. This is what run inside web server. This is application server, Puma.
Okay.
Okay, what else do we need?
So, if we have our Rails application, we have both servers. Maybe you mean we. So we should have database.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And we should realize the connection between these both
Yes.
servers.
Between database and server.
Between database and server.
Yeah, because sometimes it can be the database is located on the other server.
Yes.
We have to maintain this connection to set it up properly to be okay.
Okay.
But it also can be the database can be located on the same server. Then it's a bit easier.
So was
because it will be the same environment and the same server. You only have to specify a port correctly and etc. Yeah.
It was enough.
Okay. Okay. What else do we need to do?
What else? Actually, we have to somehow get our domain name.
Domain name?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, my excellent app.com.
Yeah, it's just an example. We can create by some domain name. Yeah, but this is actually this is also interesting question. Do you know? We have web server and we have domain name. If I put my name on the URL string in browser, I'm getting to my Rails application. How it works?
So actually, this request will handled by our web server.
Okay.
And Nginx gets this request and try to work with them.
Yeah, but how our domain name is translated to API address? Because our web server is run on some remote machine which has AP address, right?
Okay.
but I put my domain name .com, for example, into browser and put enter, and it makes request to the proper IP address. How it works?
Okay. So first of all, domain name contains few parts. It is a zone, for example, .com or .ru or something like that. The main server will check and redirect you to the correct main server, global server, that will provide you to your exactly to your name.
It works in the case if we make like requests. If, for example, we make requests from our like application to, I mean, this hierarchy of providers. But I mean, we can get, it doesn't redirect me. If I want to know IP address, I make only one request, and it doesn't make like any redirect. This is called DNS, the domain name system.
Okay.
This is special server which is responsible for this resolving thing, right?
Okay.
I make one request, the browser makes one request. Or if it's cached on your machine in your operation system, it doesn't make it. Just it goes to special table, domain name table, and takes IP address already stored there. But if it, for example, let's assume it wasn't cached. We just bought a new Mac and we just make a new first query, and then it makes this UDP request. We have like this special hierarchy OSI, it's called. It makes UDP request to domain server, and the main server returns the correct IP address. And our browser uses this IP address, paste it to the request, and make a request directly to the physical IP address to the physical server.
Okay.
This is how it works.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So, very global.
Yeah. Thank you, Pavel.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I hope you had so many things to learn.
Yes.
That's really wonderful.
I knew a lot of things from you. Thank you.